Sources told the Post that Jones sent a message to one of the betting ring members on February 9, 2023, urging him to place a large bet on the Lakers' opponent, the Milwaukee Bucks, because James would be out with an injury.
But we begin with a story that has dominated the headlines. The FBI announced on Thursday that two major operations, one involving the sharing of insider information for betting on NBA games, and the other centering on rigged poker games using high-tech cheating devices, have led to the arrest of more than 30 suspects.
It started like any other week in the NBA-packed arenas, flashing lights, and the familiar rhythm of basketball's biggest stage. But behind the noise, something was quietly brewing. Federal agents were tracking encrypted messages, unusual money transfers, and whispers of an operation so secret that even insiders didn't see it coming. When the headlines finally broke, the shock wasn't about who got caught. It was about who was named. Because among the 30-plus suspects arrested in an FBI sting that stretched across 11 states, one name started surfacing in confidential documents, a name fans never imagined would appear in an investigation file: LeBron.
Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for
LeBron James. The operation was called Nothing But Net, and it's being described by insiders as one of the most complex investigations ever tied to professional sports. What began as a routine probe into suspicious betting patterns suddenly turned into a federal manhunt uncovering rigged poker games, insider leaks, and an underground network of information trading that reached from Las Vegas casinos to private celebrity mansions. But here's the twist. The deeper the FBI dug, the closer they got to the world of basketball royalty. LeBron wasn't charged with anything, yet his name appeared again and again in encrypted logs and seized devices. His homes were searched, his associates questioned, and his silence only fueled more speculation. How did one of the most disciplined and respected athletes on the planet find his name tangled in an FBI file? Was it a misunderstanding? Or something far more complex hiding behind loyalty and fame? You're about to hear what the headlines didn't tell you, the side of the story that slipped through the official statements, the rumors that refused to die, and the secrets behind basketball's biggest mystery. For months, the FBI had been quietly piecing together a puzzle that stretched far beyond basketball. It began as two separate investigations, one into suspicious betting patterns tied to NBA games, and another focused on high-stakes poker circles using hidden cheating devices. On the surface, the two worlds had nothing in common. But as agents followed the money trail, they found the same names, the same offshore accounts, and the same encrypted conversations linking both operations. They called it Operation Nothing But Net, a name that sounded almost playful until you realized what it uncovered: a sprawling web of corruption connecting athletes, coaches, and entertainment insiders. Investigators discovered how confidential player information, such as injury updates or starting lineups, was being leaked before games. Those leaks were then used by betting rings to place enormous wagers on outcomes that the public knew nothing about. And the poker side of the operation was even darker. Agents uncovered private rooms inside luxury casinos where games were rigged with micro cameras and signal devices, giving insiders the upper hand against anyone unlucky enough to sit at their table. Millions of dollars moved through crypto wallets, shell companies, and untraceable accounts. To the outside world, it looked like pure coincidence, just the highs and lows of the gambling scene. But to federal investigators, it was a network of fraud hiding in plain sight. By early 2023, the Bureau had enough to make arrests, but there was still one piece missing: the insider connection within the NBA. They needed proof that someone close to the players was feeding information. That's when they started tracking a name that would later send shockwaves through the league: Damon Jones. But one tiny text message changed everything. For investigators, everything traced back to one man, Damon Jones, LeBron's longtime friend and former teammate. Once known for his infectious energy and loyalty, Jones had been a familiar face around LeBron's world for nearly 2 decades. But by early 2023, his name would appear in a context no one expected inside an FBI evidence log. According to federal documents, it was a single text message that cracked the case wide open. On February 9, 2023, the Los Angeles Lakers were preparing to face the Milwaukee Bucks. Hours before tip-off, Jones allegedly messaged a member of an underground betting ring urging him to put big money on Milwaukee tonight. The reason LeBron James, he said, would sit out with an injury information no one outside the team was supposed to know. That text went out before any public report of LeBron's absence, before the media even hinted at it. And when LeBron indeed didn't play that night and Milwaukee took the win, the pattern looked too perfect to ignore. Within days, data analysts flagged the bet as suspicious. A small-time gambling probe suddenly had a direct line into the NBA. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered similar patterns tied to other games, and more importantly, the same social circle. Jones had reportedly been living far beyond his means, flashing cash in Vegas, boasting about inside info, and dropping LeBron's name like a golden ticket. It wasn't long before the FBI connected him to larger operations already under federal watch. That one text casual, maybe even impulsive, became the trigger that set off one of the most explosive scandals in modern sports history. At first, it seemed like Damon's downfall, until the spotlight shifted. At first, all eyes were on Damon Jones. He was the one sending messages, flashing cash, and bragging about connections. But as investigators followed the trail, something unexpected surfaced. Encrypted chats, financial records, and travel logs that hinted at communication far closer to the NBA's inner circle than anyone had anticipated. That's when one name quietly appeared on a federal warrant: LeBron James. News broke like wildfire. Overnight, the face of the league became the center of whispered speculation. Agents executed coordinated searches at LeBron's two primary residences, one in Los Angeles, another in Ohio, reportedly collecting electronic devices, business ledgers, and communication archives connected to his personal staff. Officials were quick to emphasize that LeBron wasn't being charged with any crime. In fact, they called him a cooperative witness. But to the public, the details didn't add up. If LeBron was merely a witness, why did investigators need to search both his homes? Why seize personal tablets and encrypted phones linked to his travel team? The phrasing inside the leaked warrant: coordination of privileged information, raised even more eyebrows. It sounded less like a misunderstanding and more like a quiet suspicion. Court insiders claimed LeBron's name appeared multiple times in supporting documents, not as a defendant, but as a recurring reference point in conversations involving Damon Jones. Whether it was innocent overlap or something deeper remained unclear. The media erupted, social platforms caught fire, and even veteran sports journalists admitted this was uncharted territory. For LeBron, who had built a reputation on discipline, family, and control, the idea of federal agents combing through his private life was almost unthinkable. Yet here he was, the NBA's ultimate icon, suddenly a character in a story about secrecy and betrayal. To understand how it reached this point, we need to look deeper at loyalty, LeBron's greatest gift, and his potential curse. For most of his career, LeBron James has stood for more than basketball. He built an empire rooted in loyalty, a promise to never forget where he came from, or the people who helped him rise. While other stars hired corporate managers and faceless agents, LeBron surrounded himself with lifelong friends from his Akron days. They weren't just associates, they were family. Together, they formed the foundation of LRMR, the management and marketing powerhouse behind his billion-dollar brand. That loyalty became his signature. It was the story fans admired: a superstar who brought his childhood crew to the top with him. But behind the scenes, that same devotion started to blur the boundaries between friendship and business. Damon Jones, once a close teammate and confidant, became a frequent presence in LeBron's orbit long after his playing days ended. He wasn't officially on the payroll, but he was always around at games, team events, even private gatherings. Insiders say that within LeBron's world, trust often mattered more than titles. If you were part of his circle, you were treated as family, and that trust came with access to team facilities, player schedules, even medical updates. To LeBron, it was loyalty. To investigators, it was potential vulnerability. Psychologists who study celebrity behavior often warn that fame can warp perspective. The higher someone climbs, the smaller their circle becomes, and the harder it is to tell loyalty from dependency. Those who start as protectors can slowly become liabilities, and loyalty turns into blind faith. For LeBron, that faith has always been his strength, the glue holding his empire together. But in the eyes of federal agents, it may now look like the very thing that cracked the armor. And that blind trust may have opened doors to something much darker. Just when investigators thought they were closing in on the sports side of Operation Nothing But Net, another trail began to emerge, one that led straight into the glitzy world of entertainment. As agents combed through communication logs and digital records, familiar names began to overlap. Event promoters, celebrity hosts, and even figures tied to the music industry's most exclusive parties. That's when a surprising connection appeared: Sean Diddy Combs. The rap mogul, once known for his extravagant celebrity gatherings, was already under federal scrutiny for a completely separate case involving misconduct and illegal dealings. But according to leaked documents, investigators noticed crossover between individuals connected to Diddy's events and those involved in the betting network surrounding Damon Jones. A few shared financial intermediaries, overlapping travel dates, and familiar guest lists enough to make agents take a closer look. Then the internet did what it does best. Old clips began resurfacing, including one viral moment where LeBron appeared on an Instagram Live with Diddy laughing and saying, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party." Back then, it was harmless fun, two icons joking around. But with Diddy now under investigation, that same clip took on a whole new meaning. Social media slowed it down, analyzed every smile, every gesture, twisting it into evidence of something darker. Public perception flipped overnight. What once looked like camaraderie between two powerhouses of culture now seemed suspicious, a potential link in a chain stretching from basketball courts to luxury penthouses. Even though no proof tied LeBron to any misconduct, the narrative had already changed. The headlines blurred the line between rumor and reality, and every silence from his camp only made the noise louder. Now, the question isn't just about guilt, it's about survival. The moment LeBron's name hit the rumor mill, the entire sports world went into overdrive. Social media erupted with theories, timelines, and side-by-side comparisons of travel dates, party photos, and court documents. Every move he made, every tweet, every public appearance became a clue in the eyes of fans trying to piece together their own version of the truth. But LeBron himself, he said nothing. No press conference, no denial, no social media statement, just silence. For a man who had always controlled the narrative so carefully that quiet felt deafening, insiders claimed his legal team had advised total radio silence while the investigation unfolded. And when LeBron pulled out of scheduled charity events and media appearances, the silence only grew louder. Then came the corporate response. A handful of global brands quietly pressed pause on upcoming campaigns featuring LeBron's image. Officially, they called it a timing adjustment. Unofficially, everyone knew what it meant. No company wanted to risk headlines linking their products to an ongoing federal probe, even if no charges were filed. Behind closed doors, PR teams scrambled to rewrite messaging, agents worked overtime to contain leaks, and teammates avoided questions during post-game interviews. To those closest to him, LeBron's withdrawal wasn't guilt, it was protection. Protecting his family, his legacy, and the empire he'd spent 2 decades building. But to the outside world, that same silence looked calculated, suspicious. And as the weeks dragged on, the mystery only deepened. No one knows what the FBI actually found during those home searches. Not even the league insiders, who usually have access to everything. But everyone agrees on one thing: whatever's in those seized devices could change everything. Because beneath the legal talk and headlines lies the real story about power and control. When you strip away the headlines, the rumors, and the noise, what remains is a story as old as fame itself. How loyalty, the very thing that builds empires, can also destroy them. For LeBron James, loyalty has always been the backbone of his identity. It turned friends into business partners, teammates into brothers, and his name into a global brand built on trust. But in moments like this, that same loyalty becomes a double-edged sword armor when life is good weakness, when the spotlight turns harsh. No one outside those FBI walls knows the full truth of Operation Nothing But Net. Maybe LeBron is completely innocent, caught in a storm he never saw coming. Or maybe without realizing it, his deep trust in others let shadows slip through the cracks. Either way, this is more than a sports scandal. It's a reflection of the world we live in, where fame magnifies everything, loyalty risk, and the people who stand too close. When the lights fade and the cheers die down, every celebrity learns the same truth: power always comes with a price. And sometimes that price isn't money or fame, it's silence. The kind that makes fans wonder what's really being protected: reputation or reality. So maybe the real question isn't whether LeBron James is guilty of anything at all. It's deeper than that. In a world built on fame, is silence protection or confession? Whatever the answer is, this story is far from over. More files will open, more names will surface, and more secrets will spill. If you've followed the twists this far, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe, because this saga of fame, loyalty, and power has only just begun.